Oh, this episode of Cinema Swirl is brought to you with the support of our wonderful backers over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl. $5 OTP backers get access to every episode of Cinema Swill, where we review bad movies. However, this month on the Patreon, things are a little bit different, but not any less exciting. I shall let myself and Kevin explain that later on in this episode. Right, let's get swirling.
Cinema Swirl! Put the lime in the lemon. It's episode number 97, coming to you from the citric acid-filled streets of Hollywood, California, where me, Captain Kevin, take my OTP Sam Chaplin through all them movies that he's not seen. Vitamin C. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Kevin. How are you doing? Are you all right? I'm glad to be here on the juicy, lemony, citrusy swirl here, talking about movies. And I've got a bitter taste in my mouth in a good way.
Bitter was the rhyme, and tart was the intention, and acidic is the nature of this most contentious episode of Cinema Swirl, that we have literally had to sit down and do a full-scale debrief because we want to get to the bottom of what's going on here, Sam. Can you set the scene for why we're where we're at with Godzilla, the movies Godzilla?
So we are reviewing Godzilla, is what's happening. There is no doubt about that. We shall be reviewing Godzilla.
Unquestionably.
However, I know that Kevin likes Godzilla, all right? And I thought, and we've had a little bit of a break recording schedule wise, so we're coming back, and I thought, you know what, give Kevin a little bit of a treat as a nice little welcome back present.
Thank you.
And we asked for suggestions of big movies. We got some mention of Godzilla. I liked that. I thought this is perfect, right? So we're going to do all the Godzillas, right? And they all fit. They all fit the brief. So we had Godzilla 1954, the original Japanese Godzilla.
Yeah, I should say that as well. When Sam says all the Godzillas, he doesn't mean like the great back catalogue and canon of all the Godzilla movies. He means the three movies that have the name Godzilla.
Yeah.
Which I believe started off as a head-to-head, and then you were like, there's a third one also called Godzilla, and I'm not going to lie, Sam, the allure of having a three-way vote where all of them had the same title was so alluring and so fun that I didn't stop for a second to think about the nature of anything that would come after it.
Oh.
I was at a live show in London. I was up in the high society, and Sam's like, yo, Godzilla. I'm like, yeah, what? That's perfect. And
whatever.
Didn't.
Sure.
I'm not saying you voted for the wrong one, but you have put us in a jimmy of a pickle, which we ourselves have created.
Yes, we have created it. So all the Godzillas are here, okay? That's what you need to know.
They're all here, the whole gang.
They're all here, and they're all eligible, right? Even Godzilla 2014 came out weeks before we started doing Cinema Swirl.
Weeks.
A matter of weeks. A matter of weeks, but it's still...
That's the cutoff.
Still counts. And people are saying Shin Godzilla. No, that came out afterwards, all right? And we've got our weird rules that we've never been known to bend or change. And so we have included those three.
Our bendable rules are ironclad, Sam. That is known.
Yes. Now, I would argue, as someone who doesn't know much, that it was a fair vote. It was a reasonable vote.
It was absolutely on me to raise my hand and go, You know what? This may, as previously stated, cause a dill of a pickle in the aftermath of this, because I was left scratching my head going, well, Godzilla 1998 is generally considered to be one of the worst Godzilla entities of all time.
Yeah.
But it's also made over 200 million in the box office. Yeah. And there's been times where we said if something is successful, that means it's big, ergo it should be on Cinema Swirl. But it feels like something of an acute betrayal of the origin and the culture from where Godzilla came to put the 1955 classic on the back foot as your first foray into the world of King Lizard.
Okay, well, look, would you
permit me to briefly step into Sam Chaplin's controversy corner for a second? I feel like I need to here. Is that all right with you?
Okay. Well, okay.
Am I allowed to do that?
I'm all right going to controversy corner, but which Sam Chaplin am I going to get? Am I going to get Sam Chaplin who did this vote, or am I going to get the dreaded, oft-heard of Bag Chaplin, who any old shit goes with him as far as I've seen?
Look, I'm just going to say what I want to say, no filter, apart from the obvious filters that I have in my brain that filter out bad things that no one wants to hear. Right, so
and
here
we
go.
sometimes apply a filter to remove light hisses and hums from the audio tracks as well.
Yeah, so no filter apart from the high pass, low pass, some compression, some EQ stuff. So here we go. I'm going to read out some comments that we've had regarding this vote and how controversial it's been.
Is this technically a mailbag segment then?
It's sort of the mailbag. So, well, play the jingle a bit in the background. We'll just kind of...
A bit. I think I finally passed the torch of most unreasonable requests for music from myself to you.
Play the mailbag a bit in the background.
A bit.
Okay, I'm just going to read...
not like that.
No, I'm going to read some comments that came in regarding this vote. I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are, all right?
Because, Sam, if you be naming names, then you be naming and shaming, and that's not what we're about here. It's a shame-free zone. But shame on all of you, particularly me, for allowing this to happen.
So, unfortunately, it looks like this vote is being sabotaged for a movie that belongs on Swill. This should definitely be a cinema Swill. See, the problem here is you've got all these people voting for 98 because they want a free Swill. Made my vote. But 98 seems more like Swill material than the other two. I'll be listening regardless. 1998 is Swill fodder, surely. I know there are some dodgy Japanese ones, but 1998 takes the cake. 1998 should be on Swill. I feel like this poll has been influenced by Jamiroquai. I'm not sure what that one is. Godzilla 98 would have been the shoe-in Swill counterpart. Odd to include it here. Odd to include it.
Odd.
Oh no, people are going for the meme pick. And regarding the three in order, this is Cinema Swirl, Swill, and Swall Right. Now that's just
Swall Right. That's the new series coming soon. I like that. I like that a lot.
So what I will say is that this is controversial.
It is.
But despite that, Godzilla 1998 clearly won. Not by loads.
Clearly won.
But clearly won. There's no doubt in it at all. Now, I'm going to say my piece. I'm going to say what I think about this. And I would say that bad movies, we've got to remember this, can be on Cinema Swirl. That's all
true.
Right. That's true.
That has happened.
And I think from what... I don't know everything. I think Godzilla 1998 was sort of a big movie culturally. I don't know if it was a massive success, but it was. So it is eligible. And because it is apparently bad, and I don't know that, apparently bad, does that mean it should be removed, stricken from eligibility for Swirl? I don't know, but I don't think so.
Maybe we could come to some sort of like a middle ground here where we're allowed to do it as a swirl, but you know, like how Russia aren't allowed to have their flag at the Olympics. We have a placeholder episode artwork instead.
Just plain white.
Where it's like film review podcast, Godzilla or whatever it is. You know, that's where... Okay, now, here's a further admission of me being the guy who should have really known better in this situation.
Yes.
But I was just excited to review some Godzilla because those who have followed my podcasting career closely have known this is something of a blind spot for me.
Right.
I have, in the past, on 2 separate occasions, recorded what I consider to be pretty decent pilots for Godzilla podcasts with friends that have, for whatever reason, never materialized because the files have gotten corrupted or disappeared or whatever it is. Such is my thirst for the big man from Tokyo that I just said, yeah, whatever, man, put them all in. And I didn't think for a second what I would be doing to the nature of the votes, because I feel, Sam, there are going to be people now who are wanting to see what has been voted for come forward and be reviewed here. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that there are people who didn't vote for this who think that is maybe a betrayal of everything we stand for. We've basically got a regular Brexit Donnybrook on our hands, folks.
Are you proposing a second referendum or not, Kevin? Be clear now in front of everyone.
Okay, look, the choice is very clear, okay?
Yeah.
Either strong and stable podcasting with me and Sam Chaplin, or a coalition of chaos with the Cinema Swirl fan base. Which is made up of literally thousands of people, and it would be an awful way to run a show. Imagine the fucking Slack chats. Good Lord in heaven. So here's what's going to happen. All right? This is fair, and I'm declaring this to be fair. Okay. And if I declare it to be fair, that means I defer it, and that means it is absolutely set in stone.
Okay.
You've all voted for Godzilla 1998. And I don't think anyone who's voted for Godzilla 1998 is going to dispute the fact that it is considered to be in some way, shape, or form at least a bad movie. But people don't want to see it behind the paywall. And also, I feel like there needs to be a balancing out here. What I'm proposing, Sam, is that now this episode of Cinema Swirl technically is put on ice. Freeze it. Ice.
Hold on.
When we go to our...
What have we just been doing? So we have been recording Cinema Swirl, but that is now on ice. We're now on ice.
That's now on ice.
Okay.
That was the first bit of episode 97 of beloved film review podcast Cinema Swirl.
Yep.
And what I'm saying right here, right now, we're going to honor your vote, but this is going to be episode 45 of Cinema Swirl, and you better play that music right this goddamn second.
Okay. Well, I feel like maybe we should play it as we go into the film. So we're now, we will be in Cinema Swirl territory here on the main feed, right? So are you therefore proposing that Cinema Swirl Godzilla 1954 goes behind the paywall, so the rest of this on ice episode is defrosted on patreon.com/Cinema Swirl?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this is a great compromise, because my great compromise involves putting a free product behind a paywall, but giving you a paywalled product for free at the same time. And you've gotten a bit of the free one here already.
Yeah.
So it's not a scam. It's absolutely fine. And I think this is what we in the business like to call a compromise.
Yes. I feel like a compromise has been reached, and I'm neither confused nor unhappy, and I can't imagine any of our listeners will be. So
I know what you're thinking right now. If that first bit was episode 97 and the next bit's going to be episode 45 of a different show, what's this bit right now? This is basically like the Wild Blue Yonder. This is fucking, we can talk about anything here, Sam. We can finally let the world know what we think about all the hot button issues of the day.
We're in international waters. Laws don't apply here. Let's just go crazy.
This is Cinema Swirl as you've never seen it. This is Kevin and Sam unplugged and unchained off the leash, which was attached to an even longer chain, which you didn't even realize.
What I would ask, Kevin, is that given that you've tried to record Godzilla podcasts before and they have, for whatever reason, had issues and not been released, and that now we're facing this democratic nightmare...
I tell you what we are facing, though, is we're facing a double bill of Godzilla, which I feel really happy about, because I spent all this time going, oh no, we're going to review this or review that. We're doing them both. It's fine. I'm happy. It's okay. Don't worry, everyone. It's fine.
It's a double biller of Godzilla. But do you feel that Godzilla, for you, is perhaps cursed in some way?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, unquestionably yes. I don't know what it is about Godzilla where I feel like even my fandom with Godzilla has never been fully actualized the way I've wanted it to since I was 7 years old, basically. I felt like I've been chasing the metaphorical dragon of being a proper Godzilla fan my entire life. And I feel like when I became a podcaster, well, easy peasy, quids in, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to be able to watch all the Godzilla now. And every single time I put microphone to Godzilla mouth, the fucking stupid shit happens. And yes, it's mostly my fault, but that shouldn't preclude me from becoming the Godzilla fan that I know that I am deep down inside.
Well, Kevin, good news. As far as I'm aware, we shall be watching Godzilla. We shall be watching
Godzilla and Badzilla are coming at you. Double bill.
I mean, that's what we should split this into, Godzilla and Badzilla. But we shall be watching Godzilla 2 times in different ways.
Yes.
And that will officially be happening.
In different ways, being that they are different movies.
Yes, they're different movies, but they're both called Godzilla. Now, I mean, we could do the classic Cinema Swirl. I know we're in the kind of netherworld where we're between both Swill and Swirl, and
I feel like there should be an ominous droning playing in the background here, or something like that, you know?
I'll find something.
Sam, I know that we are obviously in the ominous nether where nothing is real nor unreal at the moment, and this is not for any one particular podcast.
Yep.
But Godzilla growing up, did you know anything about the big man from Toki City, the big fella? I mean, did you see any Godzillas? Are you a complete Godzilla virgin in this sense? Are you untouched by the big man?
I've seen Cloverfield, which look is not Godzilla, but I think it's along the same lines.
Is there anything from J.J. Abrams that you have not seen?
a few, quite a lot of his film work, but I know what you're getting at. And maybe the black smoke monster from Lost is in its own way a kind of Godzilla-type figure.
Kaiju. I'd say kaiju. Please use the correct terminology, Sam.
A kaiju. But I don't know much about Godzilla, but I kind of, is he a dinosaur? Is he a
dinosaur?
What is Godzilla? It's just a big, massive monster.
Yeah.
Who walks through the streets, but he's big, so the streets are little, and he kicks everything over. He causes a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, but what? Like, you're talking about King Kong basically at the moment. What makes Godzilla, like, has he got any unique attacks or is there anything he can do, for instance?
Can he breathe fire? Is it like a kind of dragon dinosaur?
He can breathe fire of sorts, yes.
Okay.
What noise does Godzilla make? Ooh.
I can kind of hear it in my head, but whether I can make that noise in my head come out of my mouth is another story.
But that's where the sweetest sauce of all lies, Sam. Please.
Okay, so this is...
Okay.
Godzilla.
Godzilla. Godzilla with a message for the ladies.
Okay. No,
Oh.
No, I can't. Look, it didn't. I genuinely, I had my eyes closed a little bit there. Thought that was going to be great,
yeah.
But it's kind of like a.
You've kind of got like R2D2 when he's been like fucked up a bit, like, R2D2 when he's not downloaded his latest software update. That's kind of what I'm getting from your yelps.
It's not a million miles away from my Chewbacca back in the day.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I thought that I've made that comparison so many times that it's going to create a mental block for you that anytime you try to imitate anything, you go, bah, 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 bah. And I don't think that'll do you any favors in life, Sam. Here's a question. Godzilla, friend or foe?
To who?
Man.
Are buildings man? Buildings have got man in them.
Man has always loved his buildings.
I mean, I obviously seen as Fiend, but I get the sense that he's just a kind of fish out of water. He doesn't know what's happening.
Oh, he don't mean no harm. Is it that ish?
He's just in his circumstances and doesn't know what's going on. If you suddenly became massive, you'd knock over things and everyone would be scared of you.
What do you mean suddenly became? You and I are already massive. Okay, we knock over shit all the time.
Yeah. But I guess I'm not seen as a fiend. But on a foe.
Tell the guys down at the rival ice hockey team to the Nottingham ice hockey team, those fans will have things to say about you, the fan of Nottingham ice hockey.
I'd love to see Godzilla versus the Sheffield Steelers. I think that would be a good film.
Well, I think their teamwork, overall they could overcome them, I think. And particularly if they were playing the home field advantage, a.k.a. on the ice.
So I think Godzilla doesn't have the home field advantage, to borrow that metaphor, and he's not expecting to be on Earth or on land, and he's just freaking out.
Where's he from, Godzilla? Like, is he from Earth? Or is he from space? Is he from beyond? Hell? Is he a demon? Or how would you describe? What do you reckon the origin or the nature of Godzilla is?
He could be an alien. He could be from space. I feel like he hatched from an egg.
Okay.
Where was that egg is a different question.
That's a real Godzilla or the egg question, though, Sam, in fairness. It's difficult to answer.
Or is he science going too far? That is another possible origin story for Godzilla. I wonder if the Godzilla origin changes on a film-by-film basis. I wonder if there's some variation there. Is he a mutant? Well, what is he? I don't know. He feels dinosaur adjacent. He feels natural, but he feels of nature.
Are you thinking this is like, you mentioned nature there, so do you think this is going to be like kind of a balls to the wall action type of a movie where it's like, stuff been ripped down and we got to stop Godzilla? Or do you think it's going to be more like kind of that Cloverfield, like it's almost like a horror kind of, following, the ground level, what it's like?
Well, this is the thing. You've got to have some kind of... If you're doing a story that's essentially there is a big monster on the loose and we've got to take him down, you've got to have some people on the ground who you're invested in. And I would imagine in this American Godzilla film from 1998, we got kind of action hero type people trying to take down Godzilla. There's not too much story to the fact that Godzilla is smashing shit up and we got to stop him. So I'm hoping the real story comes from the people trying to stop him and trying to understand him, you know?
Understand him? What does he want?
Yeah.
What do you think he has an ultimate desire, Godzilla? What does Godzilla want? Like, if he has a goal, what does he want to achieve?
What does Godzilla want to achieve? Probably peace, you know? He just wants to be left alone.
Oh, he wants peace for himself. He's not like going around the UN and getting him around the table.
No. Maybe he wants to go home. But, you know, in terms of what I would do if I was tasked with taking down Godzilla, is I would do what no one thought to do, and that is pass Godzilla the talking pillow and let him speak and give him an opportunity to voice his
Give him a moment,
side.
Yeah, but you think that's all going to work out, and then they put the honesty box in front of Godzilla and he has to tell us what he really thinks. And all the questions in that box are designed to basically make Godzilla fight humans, and it's not really fair, actually, when you think about it. It's just the producers playing a game on him.
Side note, did you watch last night's?
That was
the red wedding of fucking incredible.
All-timer. There's like an episode of Below Deck Med that took place during the pandemic where Roy Orbison's grandson chartered the boat and he has a full-on mental breakdown. Like, he's literally naked at the dinner table going, "Ah!" And his wife is like, "Please, just go to fucking sleep." That was originally like the Hall of Fame horrible reality show episode. Last night, wow. Like, that's like all of the spiciest bits of the last 3 seasons of Australia all in one dinner party.
Yeah. We're talking about Married at First Sight UK. I kind of want to include this in the episode, so I'm going to, in this nether one. Yeah, I think that's important. Back to Godzilla. We've got to take him down. We've got to work together. And I feel like that's going to be the crux of the story.
And you're talking about the American version now, so you think this is going to be like kind of a heartwarming affair of some sort?
Well, more like a kind of people rallying together to do the right thing. I feel like nations are going to have to work together on this, and that's always a tricky subject, right? Trying to get people together to help.
So you're reckoning the American one, which we're going to review for Cinema Swill, is going to include action, adventure, people coming around from all over the world to join up together.
Yeah.
Almost like an Independence Day scenario. Interesting, given the director. I was wondering what you expect from the Japanese version of it. Do you think it's going to be a rah-rah similar thing? We're all coming together to overcome Godzilla. I mean, obviously, we have a bit of a tendency to avoid ye old and black and white times.
Old shit.
Well, I don't know. Old shit. But Japanese old shit. I mean, could you even guess what you reckon the angle's going to be? Because it is the original Godzilla, I guess. So, you know.
I don't feel like it's going to be loads different. In terms of the kind of core concept. Godzilla's here. He's smashing everything up. What are we going to do to sort that out? You know, you were saying that thing about like how, this is the American one with the, I guess, the director of Independence Day. We're going to be rallying around yeehaw. But I mean, like that, surely that has to be the plot in the Japanese one. But maybe it's not. Oh.
Guess we're going to have to find out by watching that movie and finishing the episode 97 of Cinema Swirl over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl. But for now, let's go play the Cinema Swill theme, because now we're going to start Cinema Swill. This next bit is episode 45 of Cinema Swill, which is Godzilla brackets 1998. I hope you're all excited and ready for your free premium content that has been delivered in the worst humanly way possible. Let's go do that thing! Cinema Swill! That ain't how you use your fork and knife. It's episode number 45, coming to you from the seldom used cutlery drawer of Hollywood, California, full of the old dirty sporks and avocado slicers and other bits that you never use, of bad movies. Hello, it's me, your old pal, Captain Kevin, chartering a course through, a petard that we've hoisted ourselves by my OTP Sam Chaplin. Sam, we're looking at a very smelly movie today.
Yes, welcome to a regular episode of Cinema Swell, where we're just looking at a bad movie. We watched Godzilla 98, that feels like it belongs on the swell, am I right? It's a proper swell movie. There we go.
All I'll say is that when it's a movie that has a section on Wikipedia where it's like, critical response, and then it's like the cast's response, and then the crew's response as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, when Tom Cruise is getting a response, you know, it's
And his response is, I'll have another, please, because he treats his Godzilla Legacy sequels like he does takeaway curries.
Yeah.
One isn't enough, amigo. So, yeah, this is obviously very clearly Cinema Swill worthy, and that's why we're here, you know, Cinema Swill talking about this. Now, I know earlier on this very broadcast, you may have heard some other podcasts and some other gubbins and dealings. I sat down with Joe the intern while I was watching this movie, Sam, and I explained the situation to her, and I don't think I've ever seen her look as confused in my entire life. So then I explained the situation again a second, and then in a third time, I got confused myself.
Right.
And she suggested that perhaps we could have a companion podcast to explain the correct way in which to digest this new Cinema Swirl/Swill content, because I do think you might need some sort of a manual.
So an additional supplementary episode that explains what you're listening to and how you should listen to it and in what order, when.
Maybe hosted by Sue Perkins or something like that, you know, where we could dive into the lore and all that, you know, get some celebs on, things like that. But here we are with a Godzilla from 1998. And what's interesting about this movie is that despite it having a stinky reputation and all that, I do believe this was responsible for young wee Kevin being flooded with Godzilla imagery as a young boy, because I remember the BBC and Channel 4 and all that would be showing late night Godzilla movies. There was a lot of hype around this. I would have been like 9 or so, I guess, when this came out.
Okay.
But for you, did you remember the flood of Godzilla, the media onslaught of the late 90s?
I remember the hype train around this vaguely. I remember sort of the poster and the font and it was advertised heavily, I think.
Relentlessly, I would say.
Yes.
You know? Like that Godzilla eye, I felt like I saw that everywhere, you know. I think it's still on some buses out in Mullingar. I'm not even sure, but you know, that was a big part of it. Do you remember any of the music that was associated with it? Because I feel this was one of the period of time where big budget music videos coming out just supplements the blockbuster release.
I feel like I should do, but maybe it was like slightly before my music video watching peak time, just because I've read about this soundtrack album and these singles that came out to support this film, and I don't really recognise them. And I thought they'd be in... No, I recognise like the songs and the artists, but I thought they'd be in the movie. But it's one of those soundtracks where they're just like... They might have been on the credits. To be honest, I didn't watch all the way through the credits.
Sam, guess what? Both of the big hit singles, and that's what I love about this, the confidence. It's so 1998 Hollywood where it's like, you know what? There's not one, there's two big blockbuster singles associated with this.
Yeah.
And they're both used in the movie as diegetic. The thetan levels are off the goddamn charts. Diegetically incorporated into the fabric of this, frankly, very, very long movie.
So do you like hear them on the radio or something, or they're like in the background at a party?
Sam, I got you covered here as we're going through.
All right.
I will inform you and the listening audience. Keep your ears peeled for a young Jamiroquai appearing in Godzilla 1998 in an audio capacity.
I almost feel like a supplemental episode should be a review of Godzilla, the soundtrack album.
I mean, it's a banger of a soundtrack, you know? If you want like kind of a refined view of 1998, that'll do you. If you want a refined view of 2001, we can't help you out there. That's when the soundtracks lost their way, I believe, fortunately.
Yeah.
So, had you seen any Godzilla movie? Like, is any Godzilla media come across you at all?
Not really. No. I mean, I've seen the lad. You know, I've seen him about. I've seen him.
I have seen the boy.
I bumped into him down the pub, but I've never seen him in film. I know I said before or after. I know I said previously
in another episode
of a different show that I'd seen Cloverfield, and I didn't realise quite how similar in kind of not presentation, but concept.
Gist. The
The
idea.
gist is exactly the same.
Yeah. It is. Man has always daydreamed about big monsters destroying their precious cities.
So I've sort of watched a kind of kaiju film before, but it was that.
I guess.
Yeah?
But this is the thing, right? It's like you were either Oasis or Blur, or you were King Kong or Godzilla. You know what I mean? I feel like you're like, oh, actually, I like Cast instead. I like, I like their music.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like by watching Cloverfield, in that example, that would be the equivalent of me saying I prefer Kaiser Chiefs, a band that came way later and tried to kind of emulate the thing from then, but with a modern twist. I don't know what Kaiser Chiefs' modern twist was.
Men in jeans liked it. That's the modern twist.
Yes.
My favorite Kaiser Chiefs moment of all time is when I saw the Pixies live in Lansdowne Road in Dublin. It was like my second or third time when they came back and did like a million gigs when they returned. And I managed to see them like 3 times. And during the third iteration of seeing them live, for some reason, in between songs, people started singing Kaiser Chief songs. So Frank Black was tuning up for the next one. And I predict a riot. I predict more Pixie songs played now somehow more passive aggressively by the assembled act. So thanks everyone for that.
Right. Well, I mean, shall we get into Godzilla 98?
Let's get into Godzilla 98 because it's a movie, you know, it's got a lot going for it, I think we should say, in the first instance. And I feel there's a lot of media for around this time that we've done on Cinema Swill that is like, it's kind of like the stuff that if your main memories of it being bad is because you watched a nostalgia critic video of it when you were in your teen years, like that feels like it kind of is, the die is cast for a lot of people in terms of something being very bad. So I did try and watch this with an open heart and open eyes.
Yes.
Because I knew that the confusion already about whether this should be on Swirl or Swill meant I better give it a go at least and cover my bases.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken to watching most of the films we do with open eyes, to just in case this.
You gotta on Swill, you gotta. Particularly that runtime. Let me tell you off the bat, 2 hours 20 minutes. Of a disaster movie. I wasn't really thinking there was enough to take us through all that time.
No, and look, I haven't heard of this having a reputation as a stinker in the same way as other Swill movies. It's not. I don't think it's in the canon of like The Room.
It's not considered
Super Mario
a
Brothers.
disaster. Yeah, no, not like a Mario Bros. Or like, you know, or like Batman and Robin is one where it's like, oh, they killed a franchise or whatever. There's like a lot of reasons why this is considered bad. For those who are like a purists who respect the original series and Toho and everything that they created, this is considered to be a very classic example of like Hollywood being like, give me that fine china, smash. Now no one can use it. You know, that type of it, not handled with care or respect. And I think the director of the movie, he did literally come out and say like, yeah, Godzilla, like it meant nothing to me. We used to go and laugh at it in the cinema. And like as a young boy who was 7 years old trying to watch Godzilla movies, and my brother and his teenage friends would laugh at the bad dubbing, and I'd be in tears, be like, take it seriously. Ghidorah is here. It's not laughing matter. So the other side of it is that it was it did make money. It made around 200 million, like doubled its budget, which I think for a blockbuster is pretty a good deal, right?
I think so.
That's a lot of cheddar, you know, of profit. But apparently it was one of these things where they wanted it to be like literally the all-time box office record they thought they were going to get with this. And because they didn't get that, the actual makers of the movie viewed it as being a failure. A modest 200 million profit failure, which I think is quite a strange, I mean, that's a strange way to push your narrative of your studio's successes and failures, I guess.
We've got to consider how much they spent on advertising, which, as we know, must have been a lot because it was fucking everywhere.
It was in cereal, Sam.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, if the movie had reached chocolatey cereals, fine, whatever. But I'm pretty sure this was on like the formative cereals. Like this was on cornflakes and Rice Krispies. There was Godzilla branding. Yeah, and the only other time I thought that was like Phantom Menace. You know, that's quite a push to get on the non-sweetened cereals. You know, that's a hard nut to crack. Let me tell you. You know.
So it's a crunchy nut to crack.
And Sam, I know that we like to maybe examine the legacy of these bad movies a little bit and see how long it's permeated. And I think one thing this movie definitely has going for it is a lot of high-profile bad movie awards. It won, pretty much swept up at the Razzies,
Did it?
the old Golden Raspberry Awards. It did. Worst picture, worst remake, worst screenplay, worst director, worst supporting actress. Take that, Maria Patillo. But, Sam, it also was the unfortunate recipient of the Silver Bogey Award. And it ran amok at the 1998 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards. Which is legit. It's on Wikipedia. Legitimate.
Silver Bogey Awards awarded by Dick and Dom in the Bungalow, of course, where they'd be giving out those awards. Okay, so it does have that stinky reputation. The intro of this is kind of ridiculous and very, very 1998.
Oh, yeah. It goes on. It's like 3 minutes of stock footage of various lizards.
That weird kind of digital orange sepia tone. The story of the lizards and science and nuclear bombs. Lizards have nuclear lizards.
Could you guess what was going on here? Because they show the lizards looking at, it's like the lizards have been inserted into the bit from Terminator 2 when Judgment Day happens in the dream. They're like, and all this fire kind of engulfs them. But this is, of course, the origins of Big Z, Zilla, as he's now known in the Toho circles. So I always like seeing footage of big lizards in real life. I'm very fascinated by that. It reminds me of when I was one of those biology teachers when I was teaching, where if it was the end of term, I would put on a video, but it would almost very likely be some sort of like a nature documentary. And there was one year where I was like, they absolutely love David Attenborough. Anytime I showed it to them, and I put on a bit, and it was Komodo dragons.
Right.
And it was an unexpectedly dark-sided bit of planet Earth, because they just show them killing a load of things and eating them, and they're very, very scary. And then literally it ends with them being like, and David Attenborough goes, "Nothing can stop the Komodo dragon."
While I was watching these lizards that can't be defeated, the thing that scared me was seeing that 4 people were responsible for writing the story on this. And I think when you get beyond 2, this is not a catch-all thing, but I think it starts to feel dangerous when you've got that many people credited with the story.
What's worse, all 4 of them trying to write it at once in one room, or 2 of them writing it together and then another 2 coming in to rewrite it together?
I think it's a brought in for rewrite situation. That would be my guess.
This apparently was made under somewhat of a less than ideal circumstances, or some would say under duress. The movie was made because they wanted to make it was Labor Day weekend, or there was a big holiday they wanted to hit it for. So apparently every element of this was greatly rushed, and it's amazing anytime there's a rushed movie that is very long, because for me, a Philistine, the obvious answer is to trim out an hour of the movie. That's got to get you a week or 2 back at least. Come on.
So, I mean, we get, some Zilla action pretty quick after that intro.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lad on a boat in the South Pacific. I think it's like a fishing boat or something. And on the sonar/radar, there's something. It sets off an alarm. Everyone's running and panicking.
Basically, at all the bases, the lights are going beep, which is the last place you want to be in a disaster movie. And I like this because this feels like this could have been any number of Independence Day type movie, or 2012 or The Day After Tomorrow. The lad sitting in the not properly lit room, spinning on a chair. This movie is basically assembled from cliches and tropes, and there's also a lizard in there as well. I did like in the credits as well that we got a credit for Godzilla designed and supervised by...
You got to supervise him. He's a loose cannon, that guy. Assistant to Mr. Zilla. So the big tail, or whatever, smashes through the window of this boat, and we see all that kind of stuff. And then so I didn't know Matthew Broderick was in this.
I don't want to think it's the case that he just grew up and then he became less of a leading man. But it's always very strange to me that he's someone who had, I think of him as Ferris Bueller, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And he was so charming as a young leading man. And there's something about him when he got a bit older, maybe it's because I really love the movie Election. He plays kind of a creep in it.
Yeah.
But he seemed deeply unlikable in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't really get on with his character.
I did Google Matthew Broderick controversy in the middle of the movie because I'm there's something here. I mean, there is stuff, but it's not really worth it. Yeah, there is.
We won't get into it.
This is the problem now about bringing this. If we were behind the paywall, we'd be like, here we
Whatever.
go. But there's certain things,
Look, give it a Google if you want to, and you'll find out some stuff.
It's not the fun type of controversy.
No.
No.
Anyway, he's heading into Chernobyl while singing in the rain. He's singing in the rain.
Did you think he was a rain boffin the way he was carrying on at the start?
Well, it felt like he loved the rain. And you're saying the thing about like this is stitched together from just fucking tropes. The fact that he's got photographs of him and a woman in the back of his little van with all of his science gear. It's doing a lot of simple exposition work, but that's fine.
That's fine because the first act of the movie moves at a pretty decent brisk pace of action and then things happening and people going and looking at things. It's almost like the threat of exposition hangs over here, and we get that later on, and we get that with a fucking vengeance. I was praying for a simple shot of a photograph as opposed to what we do get instead.
I mean, this reminded me a little bit of James Bond in so much as at the start here, we're just going from location to location. We're off from Chernobyl now. He's being relocated.
Yeah, top army brass strikes again, Sam.
A welcome return of top army brass here to relocate him to somewhere else.
And he's like, but I'm just looking at my worms. And the top army brass is like, not anymore, you're not. You're needed by America.
Yes. Meanwhile, in Tahiti, a mysterious French man is questioning the only survivor of that initial Godzilla attack we saw at the start, and the man is very scared.
And can I just say as well, the smartness of Godzilla, very methodical, cerebral kaiju, in that he went not only for any old boat, this is a cannery boat, which would have been full of fresh, deboned fish. So he chose wisely, Sam, is what I'm saying. He chose wisely.
It's not a coincidence, but the man who survived. He's just there in his like hospital bed saying Gojira.
And yeah, that's the thing, right? Gojira. And he's like, what did you see? And he says Gojira over and over. And I googled it. It's a new metal band from France that changed its name from Godzilla in 2001. So actually, the old man is a poser. He saw Godzilla. Now in 2001, if you see him since, you saw Gojira. So that's what it is. And they do make reference to that later, that it's like the name for a mythical lizard that the fishermen have in Japan, and it gets mistranslated, which causes consternation from Gojira to Godzilla. So there you go.
Is that what actually happened? I don't know. Like, is that the origin of the name Godzilla? Legitimately?
We will absolutely have Ziller heads in the comments below for surezies.
Yeah. So, jet setting locations. We're now in Panama. Broderick arrives, and there's journalists everywhere. He's a radioactive biologist, basically.
He's a worm head. He's an annelid man, is what he is. And I'll tell you, he wouldn't be my first pick, Sam. If I was having a giant kaiju problem, I wouldn't be going for him. I'd be going for a dinosaur man myself. You'd never see a dinosaur man inside of a big footprint with his pants down now, would you? A dinosaur man inside a big footprint would be like, yeah, pretty much what I expected here. And like the worm man is like, what, an appendage? What? It's a limb? What
was the certificate for this? Was it like
PG?
Oh, it's PG. Okay, because
it's PG, and also on Sky/Now TV has a miserable 0.5 star rating, which ran down my spine like a cold fucking shiver. Like, it's literally an anomaly if it's below 5. Everything is 5 stars or 4 stars.
Everyone loves everything on Sky. I feel like this film has a habit of kind of showing you something and then telling you it as well. Because
it's show and tell as opposed to show not tell.
Top Army Brass is like, here's your sample. And Matthew Broderick's like, I don't see it. And then we zoom out and he's in a giant footprint.
And then he's like, I'm in a giant footprint. Can you believe it? Like, it's show, then tell, then disseminate what you've told to the other. So that the scientists have, it's like that fucking awful Kenneth Branagh COVID series it's on, where it's like, and then the scientists talk to the publishers, and then the publishers published a paper, and then the Policy Action Unit group, they read the paper, and then they chaired a committee of NASCAR. No!
And then he was standing in a giant footprint. So there's a big dinosaur-like creature going around.
Oh.
Meanwhile, back in the US of A, the woman from the pictures is here, and she's working a 90s office job as a kind of reporter.
I love that we cut to New York and we literally got Matrix-y graphics where and it said the city that never sleeps. And honestly, for me, non-Yank, in spite of being misidentified as such, all the time
Yes.
in the UK. I did not necessarily know that was a city that never sleeps. I thought that could have been another city, because there's not, nightlife is not just a New York City thing, right? But that is New York City, aka the city that never sleeps, even though they showed a map beforehand of where he was heading and it clearly zoomed in on Yonkers, the city that never sleeps. My new favorite American accent mix-up situation, Sam, happened when me and Joe the intern went to get sandwiches from a known chain of sandwich takeaway restaurants here in the UK and around the world with special vouchers that came in the mail. And the manager got really freaked out because he didn't recognize the vouchers but thought that I had been sent from head office because of my American accent.
All the way from the US of A.
Yeah, they thought I was top Subway brass.
Did you play into that and just do a kind of...
No, I just wanted my cheap sandwich. That's all. Sure. Bob's your uncle. Because I go there now and then, you see, and I plan to go back because I got a big book of vouchers. So, next week I have to come back and be like, well, the boys in DC loved what you did last time with my fucking chicken sandwich. They want to see if you can handle the turkey now.
Harry Shearer is in this.
He is?
As a sort of news anchor pervert is his gimmick here, like a bad boss.
He is. Yeah. He's living in an alternate universe where being cancelled means that Godzilla's going to come and eat you.
What a great universe that would be. The young woman, she wants a promotion, but he's all like, well, if you have dinner with me, then maybe we can see about the promotion. And she's like, you're married. What are you doing? He's like, well, have dinner with me. So he's a dodgy guy is the thing there. He's a bad boss.
Let me tell you. We've got also as well, is it Hank Azaria who's here as well?
Yeah, he's here too.
The beloved voice of Apu, everyone's favourite childhood memory of that. He is known as the Animal in this.
Yes.
The Animal.
Yeah.
Did he give you any animalistic vibes at all? It just felt like...
Not at all.
Like a New Yorker.
No, he's just a guy, but he's known as Animal. I don't know if that's for the kids. It's cooler to have a character who's like, hey, there's an animal. Yeah.
I mean, I was very, very excited that the movie was now moving its focus to New York City because there is a lot of ridiculous... there's a lot of that going on.
I'm Godzilla a lot of times, here.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's good because Godzilla, he's walking here, but he makes New York City rise up as one and say, you know what? We're walking here. We're walking here,
We go away from the city that never sleeps for a bit, now to Jamaica. We're going to so many places. There's a running joke of no one knowing Matthew Broderick's character's surname, which I've also now forgotten.
I mean, I just called him Brod or Brothers. That was it. I mean, look, Sam, A, it's Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
B, he's got what could best be described as an aspiring to be a Kangol hat on him for most of this movie.
Yeah.
He is aggressively forgettable in everything he does and says.
Yes, but we established that he's not married and he's single. But why does he have those pictures of that woman?
Why would anyone care about his love life? He's a worm scientist. That's so boring.
Hey, nothing wrong with a worm scientist.
Proper fucking, like a centipede scientist. That's a proper scientist. Ooh, you gotta count the segments. Count the leg pairs, you freak.
And so we see everyone looking at this torn up boat. Everyone's gathering on the coast to look at this big boat with a big claw mark out of it, which I think is CGI because it looks a little bit cutscene-y, this boat.
There's moments when the movie looks all right in the way that, like, when we did Independence Day, it's like, okay, that looks all right, but it felt like it was inverted in terms of there was like 4 or 5 times in Independence Day where it was like, Jesus, that's ugly and has aged badly, but here it feels like there was 4 or 5 times where it was all right and then the rest it was, Jesus, that's fucking ugly. I was not expecting much, but I was getting the vapors when I was seeing a cannery ship and that was looking dodgier. And we had an articulated dinosaur to come up next, I
didn't have a massive problem with the CGI, but it's not...
Really?
It's all right. It's all
right.
We'll
get to it. And you know what? I have a question for you, Sam.
Yes, please.
Is Godzilla and his path of destruction meant to be a sad thing or a triumphant thing or a scary thing? Or like, what is it? Is it... Because sometimes... it's presented as being awe-inspiring what he's up to here, Elzilla. But it feels like, I don't know, if you got an answer for me, because I don't feel like I know.
There's a majesty to Godzilla.
That's the word.
It's majestic.
Do use that, yes. Majestic, yes.
But that can also be dangerous and scary and sad. But he's just an animal. He's just an animal trying to survive.
What I fucking hate about this, because there's this whole other side to Godzilla, and like beforehand you were like, oh, I don't know, is he friend, is he foe? And like, that in itself is intriguing of a bit of Godzilla intrigue you're going to get. And yet, this movie is like absolutely non-committal. He is basically a big old wild animal, which can be impressive at points, but also shows us the power of nature. But also, we should kill it, and that's fine. It's not really clear if we're overstepping the lines by killing him, but it's unquestionably sure that it is a thing of beauty and majesty and deserves it. It's basically Jurassic Park is what I'm saying.
Yes. I mean, I think you mentioned him earlier, and I would love to see a Godzilla film made by David Attenborough, who has to have Attenborough's law and not interfere with, the nature, and just let Godzilla destroy New York.
He's forbidden. He wants to get all the plastic out of the oceans, but he's forbidden by his order, his ancient order from which he comes.
There is also a mysterious French fella in this, who's the guy interviewing the fisherman before.
Yes, he claims to be an insurance man.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's an insurance man, and he's not this mysterious. I know an insurance man when I see one.
Oh, I don't know. I think listeners of Cinema Swirl and Cinema Swill long consider Ian Chaplin to be a mysterious, shadowy figure in our extended universe.
The character of Sam Chaplin's dad, who I'm not sure has ever been referred to by name.
Don't worry, we're behind the paywall. Oh, wait, no, we're not.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You just doxed the top insurance man in Nottingham.
More boys on boats. It's all stormy out there, but this isn't on the South Pacific. This is in New York water.
What it is now, Sam, hang on here now.
Yeah.
It's the real deadliest catch. The real deadliest catch is Godzilla.
Yes.
No, wait for it. It's him catching your boat.
Yeah.
You're the deadliest catch.
Yes, because
the documentary crew will be asking him about stuff.
Yes.
They'll be asking him for his 2 cents. You're the deadliest catch.
We see
That's how deadly he is.
Up until now, we've seen his tail, we've seen his footprints, but now we see him pop out of the water, even though it's dark and stormy, so I don't see loads of him. We see him briefly.
No, we focus on the lower body for a series of events that can best be described as the wrong trousers. 2000. We've got big, brown, greeny legs doing a 2-step around New York City.
Yeah.
I did like that we had the old guy at the river being like, I'm going to try and catch myself a New York-style halibut. And then big Godzilla comes out of the water and he goes, and they come on, Joe, you gotta run, you gotta make it. And then he'll cut back again, seriously, like Monty Python, where he's like, they just kind of zipped him further along the line going, And in the end, I don't think he actually dies. I think this old fisherman manages to outrun Godzilla.
Yeah.
Fucking A. That's New York City. They're tough.
It was a rainy day and everyone in New York was like, come on, it's raining over here. And,
I'm fishing over here. Maybe they come out of the sky. We'll just say,
But that means that he's in New York. Oh, also, Matthew Broderick subscribes to the theory that he's a nuclear mutant. The dialogue is crap in this, by the way. The dialogue is awful.
Absolutely. And like Broderick gives it in all the same kind of, he's kind of like, I think he's like one of these worms and that he's been genetically altered and he's just,
Yeah. The dawn of a new species, the first of its kind.
I was like, what happened to Matthew Broderick? Why did he stop being in so many movies? I was like, he discovered his love of the theatre. Good. Good. I'm really glad you discovered the theatre. Was that over there in America? Not here. Good.
Enjoy it.
Good.
Enjoy it. Feel that love.
You enjoy it. You want to talk about a paywall? Matthew Broderick on Broadway. There's a fucking paywall for you. You want to see? How do I see Matthew Broderick? You got $500, little boy?
And also Audrey, who's the woman from the photos, she's in New York talking to her friends who are Hank Azaria, Animal, and his wife. And she sees Matthew Broderick on TV and she's like, hey, that's the guy from Broadway. No, she's like, that's my college sweetie. He looks so handsome on TV. And it's all very naff.
It is, absolutely. It's like, it's always the bit I liked least in Godzilla movies for the most part, and I've not seen every Godzilla movie, far from it. I've probably seen less than half, but
Yeah.
I want to see a kaiju, and I want to see people going at the kaiju, and I want to see them talking about it, planning how to stop it, all this. I couldn't give two flying fucks about his relationship from 4 years. No. Stop it. There's no room. The movie's 2.5 hours long. No, cut this bit.
They went out for 4 years. He asked her to marry him, and then she disappeared without as much as a phone call or a letter.
And then I go and spoil it all by doing something stupid like Godzilla. Na, 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 na. Oh no. Okay, Godzilla running rampant here in New York. There's around a 5-minute sequence here where you see his big trousery legs dancing around, and it's basically a supercut of things being sprinkled on people going like, no. It's like a bucket of paper balls. Stop it.
Yeah.
It seems dreadfully inconvenient.
Yes, he causes an absolute mess. Does Godzilla here. He causes a real mess. He's a nuisance. He's a bother.
It goes all the way to the top as well. He's pissing off none other than the mayor. And this made me laugh so much. This made me laugh more than anything in the movie. The extreme pettiness of the characterization of the mayor of New York City. Did you catch this, Sam?
It's subtle.
It's very subtle.
Yeah.
You might have to put some clues together that the fat, bumbling idiot who doesn't know anything, Mayor Ebert, brackets, why did you give my Independence Day a bad review on your show? And I know I'm not offended by that, but the mayor is an idiot, literally stuffing candy in his face. Like, damn.
I'm hungry.
Imagine the mayor from Jaws if he was a glutton. That's what this character is.
And he just like thumbs up and thumbs down and stuff. He's like a kind of... That's his mayoral, like, catchphrase thing.
I was very impressed by Ebert's better than you and you know it response to this, where he's like, if you're going to go to the lengths of putting me and my man here into your fucking movie, have us get eaten by the monster or squished or something. He was very, very upset by that fact. And rightly so.
It seems very petty and very inside baseball to put this character in a PG.
Right. And like... It's not that, because he's there at the start, he's like, I'm the mayor. And I thought, right, we'll see him for what, like, he's presented very much, like, as, like, oh, look, wait, what? Oh, my God. But he's, like, in it, like, loads. He is one of the main cast of characters.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
We get Hank Azaria chasing it with a video camera, an old school video camera, to make the film Cloverfield. But it kind of... I thought either his tape is shit or Godzilla is kind of interfering with the camera. I thought that was like
the radiation.
Is that the radiation? Yeah, that's what that is. But thankfully, Animal, he nearly gets squished, but he manages to land right in between Godzilla's toes.
Yes, Hank Azaria does manage to survive being stood on, but now he has a renewed vigor for life and a chaotic foot fetish.
Yeah, that was this film. If you like Godzilla feet,
if you're a boarhead and you like feet,
you're gonna have a
specifically Godzilla feet.
Yeah,
there's a lot here.
It's like if someone on Clips for Sale had a massive budget, and they really, really went for it.
That's what this was. Neil Toe handed the rights to Clips for Sale, and then they got the guy from Independence Day, and the whole project ran amok. That's all this is. This is a custom gone too far.
Oh, wonderful. So Godzilla, he's hiding in Manhattan, is what they established.
I was really hoping that someone would be like, oh no, he's fucking magic as well, And this is one of my big issues about Godzilla in this. I know he's probably not, and I'm just basing this on vaguely how I'm feeling after ornery watching this movie.
Sure.
But he feels very inconsistent in size, in that I feel like he's towering above a lot of buildings, and then he's able to slip down into the sewers like he's some sort of a gas.
Yes, it's never really fully established how big he is.
Like, it made me think about the pipe circumference of the underwater systems in New York City and in Manhattan Island and the surrounding area, which I can tell you I had never thought about before this moment in time. No. I don't think you could fit a Zilla down there.
I don't think so, but he might be quite slippy, Godzilla, once he gets wet.
Well, like a cat.
I reckon he
shuffle
kind of,
about,
Yeah, as long as he uses his whiskers to kind of gauge the width, I think he'll be all right.
I love the news story that breaks, and the headline is "A Dinosaur in Manhattan," which honestly sounds like something we would be reviewing on this show anyway. Voiced by John Goodman.
I mean, there's a little bit of, this was 1998 and this is set in New York and it's a big disaster. And you kind of get the feeling that, okay, I mean, this sort of movie might not happen in this location in the same way anymore.
Not in this way anymore. Yeah, for sure. This is very much a pre-9/11 time capsule of how disaster movies can and will never be done again, I guess.
The news anchor refers to this as being the worst thing to hit New York since the World Trade Center bombing.
Oh my God, I had no idea about this. Did you?
Yeah, no, I knew about that. But it's like
Did you? Yeah.
Comparatively,
I think it was.
It's sort of a footnote now. I don't, not to compare, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like a weird to go back to a time where that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, where it was like 6 people who had died in an attempted bombing of the World Trade Center. That was in the early 90s. And let me tell you, folks, I know you're all feeling right now, thinking that's very interesting. I'm going to pause this and going to go give that a quick Google. And if I could make it through this movie with only having a quick glance on Wikipedia after I was finished, you can make it through the rest of this podcast episode, even though I know you're thinking right now, that's very interesting. But what will happen if you put in World Trade Center bomb into your Google search engine? They're not going to think you're looking up that. They're going to think you're looking up some sort of a conspiracy theory. And that is going to be, you're not going to want that. You'll be recommended all sorts of bad books.
Yeah, you'll be immediately arrested. It's not worth doing. So...
They'll literally lock you up and put you in jail.
You can't Google anything these days. Godzilla, he's hiding in Manhattan. The Frenchman, the insurance Frenchman, he's put a weird little tracker.
Mysterious Jean Reno.
He's put a little weird tracker on the mayor.
That's as well, I should say, is a big giveaway about this being a pre-9/11 piece of
you can go
fiction
right up
media.
to the mayor.
And, that for one, the mayor is like treated as this like kind of like kid that's just hanging around that's a nuisance. Yeah. Also as well, the idea of the French Secret Service covertly being involved in like a big international incident and Americans being like, guys, come on, let's all come together, the French and the Americans, you know. Hey, you call them French fries, we call them freedom fries, and I call you friend because I think you're pretty all right, Jean Reno and your mysterious French assassins.
Let's call the whole thing off. And Audrey, she's nicked her boss's pass.
And this is a scene as well when she's getting the pass. We get in the background... That's right, it's Jimmy Page and Sean Name Combs with their song that they had for this.
The collab we're all waiting for.
I had in my head that Jimmy Page was some sort of a mad Brexiteer or something like that. I kept Googling him and GB News and I was like, no, it's not him, is it? No.
I don't know. At this point, I don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
No. Yeah? Godzilla is in the subway tunnels. He's underground. He's underneath New York. And that's where Audrey is. And Matthew Broderick, meanwhile, is making the very good point that, he's not... Oh, guys. Oh, mate. He's not a monster.
You've got to go on a night out with him and really understand him first, though, yeah? Once he's had a few pints, he's fine, mate,
No, he's a good lad, really.
No, Godzilla's a bloody good bloke. Yeah, don't listen to her. She doesn't understand him, yeah? He's a bloody top bloke, mate. Seriously,
no, I know him. He was always nice to me. He's just an animal, He's just an animal.
And you know what? He is literally like that in one sentence. The next one, he's like, oh, no, we are killing him, though, right? Like, And I want to do it.
Let's make sure we blow up this motherfucker. But he's just, guys...
Like, it's only right that he's killed by someone who truly understands what a unique specimen he is, okay? It's only right. And their solution to the problem of him being hiding away is to put out some bait.
Yeah.
And their bait are some big fish dumps, which I did note here, Sam, that if you were a kaiju, this would be an ineffective way of garnering your attention from your underground lair.
I don't like fish, but if you put a big vat of Pepsi Max, you're getting me out of there. Similarly...
Sam, has it got a scent? Even aided by fumes from the subway system?
Look, if Pete Doherty was trapped in the subway, you put a big breakfast out there.
Big breakfast. Very big breakfast.
Massive drop of breakfast. And you're going to hear some classic Libertines tune.
And of course, Tom Cruise is a lot more finely tuned. You might think one massive curry. No. 2 regular-sized ones alone, actually, is enough to make him come out from his crystal cavern.
One simply won't be enough. It has to be another, please. A second curry.
I'm under strict orders. I'm under strict orders from Joe the intern. I'm not allowed to make that joke around her anymore because I literally became obsessed over the summer. I couldn't see two of anything without immediately going to my Tom Cruise material.
They're lifting off all the manhole covers so that Tom can smell the curry, and there was a very nice dolly zoom shot of Matthew Broderick, which we like those. They're fun.
That's a dolly zoom, and not what I wrote down here as the classic big movie slow lens style zoom.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. You know, you zoom the lens in or out as you move the camera the other way, and it creates that.
Don't even have a media studies degree. Have a media studies degree.
Nowadays, you can just get a media studies degree online. You could just do it on TikTok now, I reckon, probably. So Big Zill bursts through the road and makes his trademark noise, which we all remember from the pre-swirl.
Which is? No, it's more of a...
Yeah, it is that. Yeah, it's that's good.
Imagine an old crone stubbing her toe. Me fucking toe!
Yeah.
It's an awful whingy-old noise that Godzilla makes. And I'll tell you what, we can see him head on here. Fucking hell, I talk about a stiff upper lip, but this man's got some fucking serious Batman animated series Bruce Wayne jaw going on here. That fucking size of that thing. Unbelievable.
I'm just thinking that is the noise I would make if I saw a massive plate of fish, though, but not for a good... Matthew Broderick, he takes like little Kodak flash photos of Godzilla.
I hated that because I was like, they're going to be awful pictures.
He's a fucking...
awful pictures.
He's a scientist, right? But he's using like a little fucking disposable Kodak camera.
It reminds me of my physics teacher back in school. He used to love to bring that up because, I was being schooled at a time when flash photography, I guess, on traditional sporting events was still a thing.
Yeah.
And he would always be like, look at this here. And he put on like a clip from a Mike Tyson fight, like 1,000 flash bulbs going on. Go, look at them all there, wasting their time and money, idiots. Look at them there, every one of them. They think they're in a big moment. Well, they get them developed. They'll think they're a fool. They will.
But, right, here's what I will say, a little side note about flash photography. It does look good looking out at it. We see loads of flashes going off.
In wrestling, that was a great thing, and you get that in the 90s as well in wrestling, in the early 2000s, where you had the flash bulbs going off.
Yeah.
But then there have been other wrestlers who have since made people, hold up their phones light.
Yeah.
And there's a part of it, I think, that is, a lot of the people didn't want to take pictures. I think they wanted to make the scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be part of the big...
Make a sparkle.
There.
Yeah.
When you're at the footy and you say, come on, you Reds.
Exactly.
Even though you want both teams to have an equally good time.
The wrestling equivalent of that is taking a flash photo.
And I'll turn around to the Coventry section and be like, I was talking about the tomato sauce on my delicious football meal. And we're all here for the same reason, guys, which is a beautiful game.
As Godzilla gets really close to Matthew Broderick, there's some quite sort of cute music to kind of suggest that...
It was a meet cute, wasn't it? It was. The two of them were like, ooh.
Oh. That he's the kaiju whisperer, and it's a very tender moment between them.
Very much so.
Also, I love that as they're... it's Top Army Brass planning this whole fish scenario. On their little...
Did you see on their
radars?
monitors?
Yeah. Little cartoon fish.
It was great. They did have one for Godzilla later, and it was much more lower effort than the one here for the fish was absolutely fabulous.
I'll tell you what, Kevin, the trap works.
It does.
Hook, line, and sinker, which is what they use to catch all those fish, which is why the trap works. Thank you.
Very, very good. And you know what, though, Sam? If I was hunting the big lizard game of Godzilla, I certainly would be figuring out my kill plan before I enacted the lure and trap stage of my plan.
Yeah, before you've laid down all the fish, you need to know what you're going to do there.
The dialogue here is fabulous because he appears before him and everyone's all scared, and the army guy goes, we're going to need bigger guns. And then they immediately go, fire at will. And I'd still imagine in Jaws, they'd be like, we're going to need a bigger boat. Now let's fucking get Jaws. Get him. They actively get him.
They shoot at old Goddy Z, and...
Does he do a fireball here?
He does do a little fireball. He breathes fire.
You read it as that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was I not supposed to read it as that?
Well, it's a source of controversy amongst Zill heads.
Okay.
Is that some people think that it's just an explosion that's happening from a gas line because this
Right.
Godzilla is just like, the beautiful, there's a lot of great discourse about it over the years. Someone said they took the god from Godzilla, so he's just Zilla, you see, He's Gino, Godzilla in name only, you know? And there's people who believe that he doesn't have the fire breath, the atomic breath of the original Godzilla, which is a blue flame that comes out.
Atomic breath.
Atomic breath. I know.
Yeah.
I know. You thought breath like a smacked arse was good.
It's a good playground
Atomic
insult.
breath. That's a great insult right there. Unbelievable. But I view it as, do you remember when he did Street Fighter? And there's a moment in it where he does an uppercut Ryu and the screen flashes for like half a second, being like, oh, is it like one of his moves?
Right.
And it was actually ambiguous. So I choose to believe that it was the gasworks exploding.
I read it as fire from Godzilla, but hey, man. Come on, you Reds.
Not my God.
We're all supporting Godzilla here.
I mean, that's kind of feels like at this point we're meant to be rooting for him a bit.
Well, we know he's a nice animal.
He won't eat Matthew Broderick.
No.
He's literally poison.
Godzilla, he just goes around fucking up everything.
He does, and he's been chased. The choppers, the whirly birds in the sky, those choppers can't get their metaphorical chompers on Godzilla. He's too much for them.
Quick question for you. I'm sure I saw a couple of lads watching the original Godzilla on TV in this film.
They weren't watching. It was just an old monster movie. It was a giant squid or giant octopus. It was tentacled. It was not a Godzilla.
Okay.
As far as I know, it was not a Godzilla.
I was trying to work out if Godzilla as a fictional monster exists within this universe.
Yeah. That'd be it. Like, you have a double biller Godzilla, it was contained within the actual movie itself.
Like, it's when, in zombie things, it's whether they also have the fictional idea of zombies within their zombie existence, or whether this is the first time they've ever heard of zombies. You know what I mean?
No, that happens.
Yeah.
I like when that is addressed. But dinosaurs do exist in this world because there are people who still like to call it a big dinosaur here, which is, I'd want to give myself a bit of breathing room from Jurassic Park and The Lost World, which came out the same year as this. But that's just me. That's just me.
So I really like the scenes with the helicopter lads shooting at Godzilla. I thought that was all...
They look the best.
Pretty cool.
When he's bathed in shadow...
Yes.
And, they're kind of tracking him and stuff. That's usually when he looks the best. It's when you get the full-on, the full body shots and he's all lit up, it looks a bit ghoulish then.
Him coming out of the building to bite them and swipe them down was cool. I think any scene, and I'd probably take this from our early experience with Star Wars, where you get like a kind of chase, but you cut to the close-ups of the people in the cockpit going, yes, we got him. Oh, it's on my tail. And it goes back and forth between that. I always like that. I always like that as a device.
It's good. And again, though, I think people take umbrage with the fact that you could literally splice this footage in here into Independence Day.
And it would make sense.
Probably would get away with it. But I feel it's not very fair to just completely compare this movie to another movie that came out. I mean, it is, it's not 1998 anymore, I guess. We can put as much distance, I guess, we want between these movies.
Yeah.
But I will say, fair enough, it was, considering that a lot of the Godzilla stuff, I loved it as a kid, but a lot of people I knew laughed at it. It was a thing to be derided and all that, and very silly men in rubber costumes, and looked at it from a different viewpoint. You have to say there's a lot to be said for a Hollywood blockbuster just showing you a big monster tearing up a city like New York. Yeah. And they do that. And there's a lot of really nice looking bits here. It's not all awful and
not all
absolute
bad.
muck.
No.
There's a lot of and that's the problem, I think, though, because this is the part when we segue from this after this confrontation with Godzilla. This is when you get you want to talk about a dump of fish? We got a dump of exposition here.
Yes.
That will make no movie buff come out of the sewer to look at it. It's very much off-putting. And it's it's a bad thing in a movie when you show me something that's really good, but that ultimately serves to make me go, oh, when are we going to get back to this bit? And that was me for the next hour or so.
Just wanting to get back to Godzilla.
Thinking this fucking would never end. This goddamn love story that is so goddamn loveless.
So Matthew goes into a little corner store, like a bodega perhaps, which is still open in time of massive crisis. The shops are still open.
They kind of very or naive in their presentation of how easy it is to vacate New York City, because they're like, all right, vacate New York City, and they're like, right, done. Right, what's next? You know, and so it is. You see looters at a few points, but there is very much you're meant to be given the idea that there's no one here, so it's okay that the helicopters are shooting right into people's windows.
Yeah,
I was thinking there's gonna be a lot of collateral damage here, lads. Like, everyone stay at home so we can shoot you.
So old Brothers, he's scooping up pregnancy tests for science reasons, but that's when Audrey walks in and he's got a big bundle full of pregnancy tests. Oh, don't you hate that, lads, when that happens? What awkward when your ex walks in.
What does it mean? You know?
Guys.
I think I've impregnated thousands of women. Oh no, you caught me. Like, you know?
I better stock up now. So they're in his little tent and he's got the pregnancy test.
In his boffin hut.
And he drops a blood sample that he got earlier on the pregnancy test and he establishes that Godzilla, he is pregnant.
He is.
And he reproduces asexually. And Audrey does a little, what's the fun in that quip, which I'm not delighted about, but fine. That's one for the dads at the back there.
The dads at the back who love to go around the pub and make fun of plants and fungi and rare instances of parthenogenesis. What's the matter, you lonely fucking shark? Couldn't you get any? Hey. Gonna go around to that boa constrictor that also was an example of parthenogenesis and be like, hey, having a go. I mean, there is examples of, you know, males giving birth in the animal kingdom. Yeah. You've got seahorses, pipefish, you got a whole bunch of, you know, of plants, etc. that this happens with. It's not unheard of.
Godzilla?
I had convinced myself that for whatever reason this Godzilla was a female. I'm not sure why I thought that, but they do. I was surprised they went with like, it is a male that is giving birth this way. I was like, okay, the zoology is being dusted off here. Yeah, interesting.
Sure, fine.
How about it?
So Godzilla, he's laying eggs and he's nesting, and that's his plan here.
And the worst part about this is that we have to have a big fucking, everyone has to know about this. So we then get the group being told, the other boffins are told about the eggs. The army top brass learned about the eggs. And the French who were spying on the top army brass, they learned about the eggs. So you get to hear them learn about the eggs in French.
Yes.
And that, so you get
whatever it is.
like 4 times now, basically, over. Oh, no, sorry. Then the media hear about it because she tells her journalist friends about this. So we get another go around with the fucking chat about the eggs. I wanted an egg so bad, Sam. I swear I had a big breakfast and I had worked through lunch and I thought, it's all right, I've had a big breakfast and I wanted an egg at 5 p.m. So fucking bad, I would have killed someone.
I'm so sorry.
I would have killed Godzilla to eat his eggs.
Imagine eating frying a Godzilla egg.
Oh. You'd want to cuddle it, Sam, is what you'd want to do. You'd want to cuddle it.
So there's some more kind of, I guess, exposition-y stuff here. Well, kind of plot stuff. Audrey, she nicks VHS tape that has top secret first Godzilla sighting written on it. She nicks that.
She wants it to be her hot scoop, basically, to outrank that son of a bitch Cayman.
This is her big scoop, but Harry Shearer, famous scoop stealer, steals the scoop, pronounces Gojira wrong, says Godzilla, and it's all the top army brass are like, what the fuck, mate, Matthew Broderick?
Leaks!
You leaked Godzilla. What have you done?
Turns out Matthew Broderick is Kerploderick, a.k.a. he's fired.
And again, it's the very, I guess, I mean, it's kind of a kid's film, but he's like, I didn't give the media the tape. Oh my God, she took it to like,
and then we cut to them like having their heart to heart about it, and he literally says, "How could you? I trusted you." Like I get, like, you know, like I feel like if you're writing that in a script editor, a little wobbly line comes up underneath going, "This one's been used a bit. It's been used a bit."
It's the sort of acting where you can imagine it pausing and someone going, "Let's stop. What's happened there?" That it seems like Audrey has broken Matthew's trust.
And then the word trust comes up on screen. Like, what is trust?
And her reason is she's embarrassed about not being a big shot reporter and she wanted to be impressive, and that's why she stole the tape.
No, it's valid. Like, if you're intimidated by someone's career, you take him down a peg, you get him fired. Now you're a loser like me.
And mysterious French insurance man who's working for the French Secret Service, he kidnaps Matthew Broderick in a taxi cab.
He's like, we need one boffin
Yeah.
who has got no skills to join us. Because he's overheard basically that they're not, the US government is too scared, it's too afraid of Godzilla's eggs, and they're not going to go do a seek and strike on the eggs.
Yeah.
And Brothers thinks there's up to 12 eggs, which, as we all know, is an egg purchaser's dozen. That is a lot.
The French Secret Service, Matthew Broderick, they want to find that damn nest. Meanwhile, Hank Azaria is also tailing them, so he's kind of seeing what's going on here as well.
And you know what's going on here as well?
Yeah.
Looks like we're moving deeper underground.
Yes.
There's too much happening in this town bracket scene because Jamiroquai is playing. Which, I'll tell you something about Jamiroquai.
Yeah.
As a youngster, I probably wasn't the target audience for his music in the first place. But the man had a brand.
Yeah.
And those are the days when a brand could be a hat. And he got me on board, and I'll always listen. I'll always listen. Tip of the cap to you.
Well, if he's on, you'll listen. You won't walk out the room.
I just feel like people are like, oh, Kevin doesn't listen to any music. But I'll give Jamiroquai a look. He's earned it.
He makes some good sound effects with his hat, with his big...
It's like if someone could say to me, like, all right, is this music objectively better than the Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack? Would Jamiroquai go, well, you know, let's hear him out.
Yeah. We'll give it,
let's hear him out.
We'll give it a listen. Right. Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Was George Carlin in this film for a brief second in a slight cameo appearance?
I did not notice. Let's have a quick oogly woogly, shall we?
I feel like he was in like a party at...
I feel like he would have had to said something, like a quip. Or say, like, fuck.
I think he wasn't. From what I can tell here, it may have just been...
You've seen what is known as a background performer or artist.
Who just looks a bit like George Carlin.
All right, you know what? That's on that's on the extras casting director. They
George
should
Carlin
not...
type.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I've literally been rejected from extras work before because they're like, no, he's too distracting. And I'm like, all right, fair. You don't want me. Like,
Too
it's all right,
distracting. Are you too, like, distinctive looking? Like, people will think you're important if they see you in the background of a scene. But this guy's going to come up later.
There was something I did. It was like a BBC drama reenactment of like some grisly killings that happened in like Manchester or whatever. And they shot a bit down the Salford shopping centre. And I'm in the background like, do-do-do-do.
They're like, oh no, we can't have that because they'll think he's... like
it can happen to like, you ever happen on Grand Theft Auto or like Red Dead, and you see something like their hat's a little bit too interesting. Let's go give them a mosey, like,
Yeah.
and then before you know it, you've killed them, and luckily no blood was shed.
Here's the thing, Kevin. You're destined to be a star. That's your problem. And you can't... Sometimes you can't blend into the background because you've got too much
Stupid
star
aura.
power. Too much of a strong aura. I mean, I wish you were acting in this because the acting is real bad. It's all really bad.
And we've got no big dinosaur to distract us from the piece here. No. So the French are going to break into Godzilla, basically. And the idea now that Audrey has is that she's going to... It's a heist.
Yeah.
Audrey's idea is that she's going to mend a broken heart with a hot scoop.
Yes.
Right? Because that will literally cauterize the wound if the scoop is hot enough. Okay?
Yeah.
So she's going to go with the animal, aka Hank Azaria, and they're going to go and they're going to break into Godzilla as well. And like, she's got like a saucy French beret on for this bit as well. Like, she's proper, like, like Nancy Drew investigates type of situation. It seems like you need a headpiece. You need a lid if you're going to go after Godzilla.
Yes, and fair play. She's learnt from Jamiroquai that sometimes your brand can be as much as a cool hat.
And a beret. Is a beret a hat technically, or is that incorrect to say? Where are my Milners at?
Oh, it's a hat. I don't want to step back into Sam Chaplin's controversy corner, but a beret's a fucking hat. Get over yourself.
But I feel that's like saying that leggings are trousers. It's like, yeah, it's the same. It's covering the same area, but it is a fundamentally different garment we're talking about here.
Oh, they're all hats. Forget it. They're all hats. Leggings are hats.
They're all hats.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have gotten rid of music from my life. Sam has gotten rid of hats from his life. He's simply no time for hats.
No.
He deleted 100 gigs of hats from his hard drive.
No, I think he's called Felipe, the Frenchman. And his strategy to get through the barricade into the underground to find Godzilla is to let Matthew Broderick do the talking, but when he has to do the talking and he's got to do an American accent, again, it's this show and tell thing. He goes, basically goes, oh, thank you very much. And
that got a pop out of me.
Yeah.
I had a nice little titter.
But then afterwards he says, the Elvis Presley movies, he was the king. And I'm like, you don't, look, we got it from you doing it. And
I feel like that's there though for when Dad goes, wait, what? You go, look, Dad, look, see? And then it's like saving time for the middleman in the cinema, you know?
pulls up to the barricade like, I've put on my blue suede shoes and I'd like to come through, please.
Look, Sam, I'm not appreciating your cynical attempts to mock the inclusive nature of this movie's
sorry.
very plain dialogue. No one's left behind.
And Zilla's in the tunnels. Who could have predicted that?
Oh, it looks ropey underground. It does now. This is the worst it looks, I think.
I mean, Animal's trying to get some good footage, and he clearly gets some, but I'm surprised those two haven't died.
A problem with that is, like, much like Godzilla himself, we don't know if he's meant to be a good guy or a bad guy. The movie doesn't really commit either way.
Yeah.
The humans are Broderick is meant to be a good egg, and I think the French lad's meant to be a good egg. But, like, the media guys are, like, they're not quite baddies, but they're also, like, very much meant to be the annoying characters who make everything, like you don't make anything easier. I don't know, like, they're not meant to be like a stick in the mud or something like that. But like, I was sitting kind of going, I don't care if Hank Azaria lives or dies. And that was a weird way to be.
Yeah. Look, it's hard to care about most of these characters is the issue.
Oh, I like the Elvis one. I like the Elvis one. He's good.
Yeah. That was good. That was the thing that brought me on board. So Godzilla, they now managed to get him out in the open. We get a real good look at Godzilla.
This is a very shooty kaboomy scene, which means there's a lot of explosions, which means he gets lit up. Whoa.
It's the same as last time. They shoot at him and he doesn't die and they've absolutely fucked it. But this time Godzilla does a very nice dive into the river.
Oh, yes. And this is when they're like, don't worry, the Navy will get him. And I was like, wow, Godzilla versus the Navy. And ironically, this entire scene was Navy as well. It was very, very dark blue. So you get to see the Navy take on Godzilla in a Navy zone, which could only work to their advantage, Sam.
Well, he gets shot at by torpedoes. They end up hitting their own submarine at one point. But finally, they try again with a torpedo underwater in the Navy colour scene that we have. And bang! Target destroyed. R.I.P. Godzilla. We got him.
Mission accomplished.
Godzilla has been compromised.
I'm here to announce an end to combat operations against Godzilla on Manhattan Island.
Yeah. He has been caught and compromised to a permanent end.
Somber music for this as well, Sam. They were quite, like, tragic at this site. Not me, though. I was delighted because I thought that was it then. I was like, great, off we go.
Nope.
Job done. Fucking hour to go.
Loads more.
God damn it.
So Broderick and the gang, they come up through a destroyed Madison Square Garden. Now, I was thinking about the name Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if the stress is in the wrong place, like Manic Street Preachers, that it's not... I was trying to work out if it is a square garden or if it is the garden of Madison Square.
Oh, it's the Garden of Madison Square,
okay,
yeah.
That's an established thing, yeah.
I think, but... I don't think it's like a particular phrase that has emphasis on one word. I don't think it's like Madison Square Garden or Madison Square Garden. I think it's Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden.
It's said in the same way as MSG. You know, it's all equal importance.
But I just think of it as like, on like new builds, they just have the kind of rectangle lawn. I just think that's what I think of, a square garden.
Nice square garden. It'll get you started up like.
Give me a Madison, please. What's that? A square garden. That's what I want. I just want a neat square garden.
And look, you may think, Madison Square Garden, that's like, that's unnecessarily large structure to have in New York City. Think of the bees that it attracts. Okay? It's huge.
And Hank Azaria, he's like, oh man, he trashed the garden. Now I'm pissed. Oh.
Because I'm from New York. Where am I going to go see WrestleMania? He's a proper New Yorker, this guy, and he's going around, and I'll tell you what, there's some big owl eggs here, and I don't mind saying, Sam, there's more than a clutch.
And I feel like those eggs have paid a lot of money for those seats, because they...
In their exclusive VIP star zone, all these eggs, all the space around them. There's pretty much 10 minutes of non-stop...
Yeah.
burp. You know, it's a oozy sounding movie. Delivers a bit of gack and gunge here and there. We did have some slime earlier on in the movie, but it's more of an audio slime, which is what we like to give you here on Cinema Swell, is an audio slime.
They were that band that span off from Rage Against the Machine. So the eggs are hatching.
Now we're getting to what we really want to do. Someone like the Raptors bit from Jurassic Park, I think, Sam.
We got the Zilla babies. Yay! They're cute, aren't they? They're eating all the fish.
No, they're not. They're ugly. They're absolutely gross. And you know what they look like as well? Because they're all kind of brownish green and like, bleh, and they all congregate in large numbers, they look like visual representations of tooth decay, you know, that you'd see on a high-end advert. Like, these guys are going to come and get you. Or bad odors that will embarrass you in front of guests who use your toilet.
Yes. They
ugly.
They ugly. And, Frenchie tells Matt to go get help and get the military to bomb the fuck out of Madison Square Garden because we got to get rid of these eggs.
Hey, someone don't like the Yankees, you know what I'm saying, huh?
And there's a joke as Matthew Broderick's trying to get out of the building where he goes in the lift.
Oh, is this when he kicks them? Oh, God, fucking hell,
and the door opens and there's Godzilla babies with like bags of popcorn scoffing them, and he's like,
Gremlins! It's literally Gremlins 2 they're doing here.
Wrong floor. And then he goes back down. He can't get out. And Audrey and Animal are now here. They're all together, the whole gang.
I mean, you know what it is, though? There's one positive of this scene, which is teaching children the harsh life lesson of what may or may not happen if you go round smelling a fish.
Yes, don't go around smelling a fish. You will get eaten by Zilla.
A clutch of Godzilla.
A real...
Little Godzilla. Oh, Tone, this is where the Knicks get showered. I never thought I'd walk a mile in Danke Stadium. Oh, the Rangers taking on the Sox? Here? Tone, I ain't never been here before. All my life I lived in New York City and I always wanted to look at the locker of Mickey Mantle himself.
Who'd have thought I'd be here in this?
You're allowed one or two New York bits. You went too far here.
Yeah.
Too far.
Too much. So they've got to get a strategy for getting a message out to tell the army, the top army brass, to destroy the Madison Square Garden.
And thankfully we can rely on the security team and the broadcasters and the Rangers who care more about Manhattan and her precious buildings than top army brass would any day of the week.
They go to the broadcast booth. And Nick gets to do his big speech saying, oh, guys, we could be replaced by these lizards as the dominant species.
He fucking changed his tune. Where was all the fucking mouth agape, sparkly eyes? I'm going to kill you and your fucking heirs.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
And now it's like they're coming over here eating our fish. All right. Okay.
And I, Matthew Broderick, will kill every one of your progeny. Last dying breath of a house. No loyalty or honor anymore.
And him and Audrey have a little loving look at each other at like a romantic moment as they've done their big speech and they've...
she got you fired, mate. Like, hold her in contempt. You know, she's done you wrong. She's done you wrong. I watched the Godzilla animated series and she returns and her career in the media is often a source of conflict for Matthew Broderick's team that works with Godzilla to stop other monsters from attacking. Which is amazing. The Saturday morning cartoon.
That sounds so much more fun.
So much more fun. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, a thing.
Like Suicide Squad, but you've got Godzilla.
Pretty much, with Godzilla, like, you know.
I mean, fucking hell, as they're trying to get out of Madison Square Garden, the fact that they're tripping up all these baby Zillas with, like, basketballs and gumballs from the sweet machine.
Ball bearings. Yeah. Ball bearings, which are somehow a load-bearing plot device in most 90s blockbusters. Bearings shouldn't have bearing.
They managed to, the French guy clears a path for them through the last bit of the arena. They make it out, kaboom goes MSG, and we get a proper false finish. They're all kind of like, yay, the end of Godzilla.
Again,
Hooray!
Again, all right.
Credits.
And I feel like anything negative I say about this movie needs to be balanced with, again, that I thought a lot of the Godzilla stuff was like impressive to see in its own right, in its context or whatever. But also this, if I always judge when I'm watching wrestling, I'm like, well, if they got me and they made me think something was going to happen, something else happens, I've been officially worked, as they say. So job well done. And 3 times I thought this movie was over and it wasn't. So I guess I owe it some sort of a begrudging respect.
Did you work yourself into a shoot over Godzilla, brother?
I absolutely did.
Yeah.
You know, the big man came into the territory. I thought that wouldn't be going over so strong. Wouldn't you know, they pulled the old switcheroo on me. And Godzilla, alive and kicking.
Yeah, and the gang, quite rightly, run like fuck. They get in a taxi, and it's like crazy taxi through the streets of New York.
I tell you what stuck with me all throughout my childhood and teen years and early 20s, etc., is the notion of using a big knife just to put into a cargo.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was a legitimate means of, like, all the times I see movies where they're like hot wire, I'm like, just get a knife.
You just put a knife in the ignition.
No, a proper one, a dagger, a bayonet. Go like Jean Reno, it's fine.
There we go. Off we go. I mean, this is quite fun in a way. The kind of driving away from Big Godzilla.
They drive up on his foot. That is good. I mean, I think some of the bits where he was chasing them before they got in there, it felt a bit samey at this point. Like, I'd seen this already, and you denied me it for around 55 minutes, and I'm seeing it again. But the one thing about the car chase that particularly was grating was that it ended, like, if you watch this on mute, it's a lot more fun because there's an extended, you try to take the FDR Expressway in New York City at this time of day, you kidding me? You gotta go over on 21st Street and 9th.
Yeah.
And that, all right, you did it once, it goes on. On and on and on and on and on and on and on. Get it, it's New York City. Traffic is bad. You've cleared the traffic. There is no, it's blocks just drive in one direction, right?
Yeah. You know what this all felt like? You know, if you go to like an arcade and there's one of those big things that they've got 2 seats and you sit in it and it's a kind of experience that judges you about a bit.
Self-contained little zone.
And it's like a light gun game. This all felt like that, you know? That it's fun, but it felt a little bit hokey.
But if crosshairs appeared on Godzilla now and then, you wouldn't have been particularly surprised.
No. And there's lines like, "He's back, sir. Godzilla is alive." And it's like, okay.
Reload! Continue! And you know as well, just to put a bow on that, Sam, you know you're spending at least £2.
Oh yeah, you're having another go.
On that.
Yeah.
That's a premium experience.
They're told to lure Godzilla out into the open, and so they head to Brooklyn Bridge to trap him in a bridge.
It's Godzilla's true foe is bridge engineering.
So I think the thing that brought that arcadey feeling in mind was when they get their car gets like in the mouth of Godzilla and it's being moved around. I imagine, you get the seat shaking, like, whoa, I'm going to fall out of Godzilla's mouth.
I was let down. I thought there would be more ooze and slime. They were in the mouth. He basically gargled with them. I would have thought there would have been some sort of a...
You want a lot of disgusting slobber from Godzilla coming all down your taxi is what you want.
I just think it's strange that there's been more slime in the Kenneth Branagh COVID-19 Boris Johnson documentary, drama that I've watched than this. Hey, all right, John. Yes. Do you want to spit in this cup? Yes, please. But nothing here. It was a dry mouth. Maybe that's why Godzilla was so cranky.
Yes.
He just needed to have a fresh glass of water.
You gotta be kidding me, man. We're in his mouth. And it's like, okay, fine.
Oh, you shouldn't be taking the mouth. You should be taking the esophagus. The mouth when it's raining off Broadway and 46th Street.
The bit where they drive out of Godzilla's mouth. I thought, you know what, guys?
Yes!
Fair enough. If you're driving out of the mouth, that's good.
I did like as well at one point when they were driving away after being eaten, Hank Azaria's character literally goes to Jean Reno, "Oh, step on it, Mr. French." For fuck's sake.
They do end up getting him all tangled up in the cables, the poor lad.
Yes.
He's all stuck in the bridge.
And tragic music kicks in as soon as he gets tangled. It's like, you know, if a baboon is stood in a boggy marsh in planet Earth, it's a sad thing. And what's weird is he gets all tied up in the cables of the suspension bridge, and he's literally like, Anakin, I'm too weak. And Matthew Broderick is literally like, oh, no, girl, come here. Shh.
Yeah.
Oh. And he has a proper, like, he looks into the monster's soul. And he's like, all right, boys, do him. All right, kill him. Kill him. Yeah. Hit him again.
Right, fuck him up. Yeah. Come on, lads. Bring it home.
And we literally see the light go out in his eyes. Like an old television. It goes, and then everyone's fucking popping beers.
Hey!
You did it. And the noise Godzilla makes when he dies, it did sound very like your impression from the first half. He went,
Everyone's happy, everyone's hugging. Audrey, she got a hot scoop, so she's now a hot commodity in the journalism space. She can leave her dodgy boss.
And that no good mayor stuffing his face with candy and peanut butter is like, how about we say that I'm the mayor who killed Godzilla? And his assistant is like, you know what, Mr. Mayor? You should just take this job and up yours it. And he's like, what do you come here, you shout ahead? And he reprises his role, the actor, for Mayor Ebert in the Godzilla animated series. He's the only cast member to return. So there you go.
Incredible.
He was not played by Don Vito from Viva La Bam, as I first erroneously thought. Which is good, because we'd have to have a very awkward show otherwise.
And Hank Azaria's tape has been lost, but Felipe, the Frenchman, took it and will edit out all of the top secret French stuff and then send it back, and they're all mates.
I'm so glad, because I was like, seriously, if they're going to do like, the lens cap was on the whole time. That you couldn't end on a downer like that. You know, that's too dispiriting.
We're all celebrating, but then we're back in the flaming wreckage of MSG.
Oh, we're moving deeper underground, is it? Too much happening in this town?
And much like in my house, Kevin, there's just one egg left. And
oh no.
And it hatches, and the little Godzilla goes, "Rah!" And it just goes over the camera, and then we're like,
we'll see you in Godzilla's 2. I mean, this was a great example of the hubris of Hollywood.
Yes.
And there's just something like, I don't think I'm at the point, I don't think I ever will be, where I treat it as like a Godzilla. It's like, it's a fun thing for me, but I don't revere it. But I know and respect many who do.
Yes.
And I could see how this is like, this is one of the times, like there's a lot of times when we do Cinema Swill, it's like kind of, I feel like people have worked themselves up into a flap about this to make content or whatever. But I genuinely feel that if Godzilla was really important to you, that this would be a kind of a miserable experience. And I think the reaction from Toho, which actually got the rights to this version of Godzilla, the design, and have incorporated it into some of their movies in a not very flattering way down the line.
Okay.
Says, they got their revenge, so to speak. But it kind of almost invigorated the franchise by default, because it made them, when they made more Godzilla movies for the Millennium series that came out after this, it's like, right, we're going to fucking proper show you some real Godzilla. And some of my fave movies of the series from Toho came out around that time. So it kind of ruins the franchise, but also it made them double down on themselves, I guess.
Some of the best media is made out of spite, I think, is the thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's a great motivator for art.
Whole podcast, nothing but it. Every day, Kermode podcast. No. I need to separate that from the runtime, which I think was definitely like a huge factor in this. Versus, like, did I have fun at points? And I think I did have fun. But, like, how did you get on with it? Like, it's your first Godzilla experience, which feels like a very dirty thing we've done all of a sudden. You didn't have any of that baggage with it, so...
No.
Was it a hoot?
It was a hoot in a kind of schlocky way. Like, it was... Look, I had fun, is what I will say. And I had fun talking to you about this. And I had fun making fun of it. And I think it's the right kind of bad film, you know? It's not boring or unenjoyable.
No, it has a lot of stuff to point and laugh at.
Yeah.
And it has stuff that is like, you know, I mean, the guy knows how to make a disaster movie, whether or not you think they're of great artistic merit or not. But it's like, you know, I can tell you my tick list of things I expect in a big budget disaster movie that is very late 90s in its flair and its tone. And this pretty much ticks the box.
Yeah.
But would I rather watch this or Independence Day? I'd obviously rather watch Independence Day, I guess, you know? It's the humans who really let down this monster movie.
Yes, it is.
Even though man is supposedly some sort of a great monster in himself.
Yeah, and look, mate, Godzilla's a good guy. He's just he's had a few too many, and he's on the last.
He had a bad lockdown. Yeah, not like you.
Yeah, he really had a tough time. But he's a good guy, you know. He's a good guy. Tell you what, I'm really curious to see OG Godzilla.
God, it's going to be a fucking change of pace. Let me tell you that. I mean, honestly, imagine the movie as opposite as possible, yet still containing a giant lizard.
which we will be watching. Just to clarify,
we
will be watching in the second part of episode 97
of Cinema Swirl over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl.
Yeah,
Cinema Swirl.
That's where we'll be watching 1950s Godzilla, and
exactly, and then it'll get a star wipe rating and everything. But
which
Sam,
this won't.
This won't,
nope.
Because there's only one question we have to ask on this podcast, which is: are you going to flush it, or are you going to scoop it out of the bowl?
I had a good time, and I had fun chatting about it, and I think it's a romp in a kind of, haha, this is a bit shit, but we're all having a good time way.
Is this officially unfairly maligned, do you think, officially, can we say? Because the reaction to this was like, it was poison.
It's not a good move. I don't know the answer.
I don't think it's quite got the redemption story of it's better for different reasons, like, say, Batman and Robin or the Mario Brothers movie has enjoyed.
Yeah.
But it's not like an all-time, like, oh, get it off the screen, it's so bad.
No. It's not super stinky. I think it's all right. I think the acting and the dialogue is appalling, really bad. And it's obviously aimed at kids, which is okay. And the romance is naff. And
that's the worst bit of it.
Some of the CGI, now I kind of think about it, wasn't great. And the Godzilla... Look... But I had fun, and I had fun talking about it. I had fun watching it.
It's no Cloverfield, Sam.
No, the tone of this was a bit of fun. You know, a bit of action, a bit of fun, and I think you need that sometimes. And given the amount they spent on the marketing budget for this, I feel like and everything else, I think scoop it out of the bowl.
Scoop it out of the bowl. You heard it here first. And now, let's go do a cinema swirl. Yeah.